Hi, I'm Tim Sullivan. At the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, we work to drive New Jersey's economic growth and innovation to help build stronger communities within the state. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Russell Berry Foundation, PSE&G, committed to providing safe, reliable energy now and in the future. The New Jersey Economic Development Authority, TD Bank, Community Food Bank of New Jersey. Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State. And by Johnson & Johnson. Promotional support provided by Tap Into TV. And by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ, part of the USA Today network.
We all have a gift of life. We all honor our donor, and every time I do get a medal, it's in honor of my donor.
It's fun having friends from other teams, and you can support each other. Just the experience is fun itself.
Those are the transplant games you're going to find out all about. I'm Steve Adubato. This is Think Tank. We're coming to you from the Agnes Varus NJTV studio. I want to thank you for joining us. Listen, we've got a great panel of folks here on Think Tank to talk all about organ and tissue donation and those transplant games. A big deal. First, it's my honor to introduce for the first time with us Denise Peoples, is a double lung transplant recipient, hospital and community services coordinator for the Sharing Network, New Jersey Sharing Network, and a member of Team Liberty, which we're going to find out more in a second. Jim Kirkos is president and CEO of the Meadowlands Chamber. Bill Ryan is president and CEO of the Transplant Games of America. And finally, she's been with us many times, Elise Glennon is vice president and chief administrative officer of the New Jersey Sharing Network. I want to thank you all for joining us. An important discussion. So on July 17th to July 22nd, 2020, at several locations, but one of them is over at American Dream in the Meadowlands, also NJPAC in Newark, Prudential Center in Newark. The Transplant Games will happen. Lay it out for us. What are we going to see, Elise?
You're going to see a 6-day festival of transplant recipients, living donors, donor families, the entire donation transplant community coming together to celebrate life, to promote awareness about organ and tissue donation. And it's really going to be a beautiful celebration, and we hope the entire New Jersey community comes out.
You know, Bill, I met you a couple of years ago at the Sharing Network. We've been partners and colleagues with the Sharing Network for a long time. They support what we do, but also our job is to promote public awareness. I remember the discussion took place and a national competition took place as to where these transplant games would take place. Why New Jersey?
Well, the bidding process goes out, well in advance of 2020, obviously, and communities take a look at it. We were attracted to this community for a variety of reasons. One, we think this is the heart and soul of media in the world. I think there's no other place in the world that can broadcast out and shine a light on an issue. And so that was the first and biggest reason why we thought it was the right place to be, followed up by the leadership of the community. I mean, between New Jersey Sharing Network and all the partners that came together to put the bid in for the games just demonstrated the power of this community.
To be clear, the fact that we are in the #1 media market in the nation does matter.
It absolutely
It's part
matters.
of it. And by the way, being at the Meadowlands, Jim, put that in perspective. You've been an advocate of that area for a long time.
Well, certainly, and I was really happy to be a part when Elise first approached me about the possibility of submitting a bid to the Transplant Games to bring it here. It was a no-brainer. It was like, well, listen, we have the history of doing some of the biggest events or the biggest events in the world. And so, yes, this would be a great opportunity for us to advance, everything that organ and tissue donation stands for. Bring the transplant games here. Bring 10, 15,000 people to the region for a week and have this spectacular celebration. And we know how to do big events.
By the way, let's continue to put out the information. I believe we're putting up the sharing network so people can find out more information. Thank you, team. Denise, talk to us. Tell us, before we go back to the transplant games, share your story.
Well, in 2000, I was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis, idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. No one in my family has it. I was the person that got it. It really changed my life. It altered everything about my life. How I moved and navigated through my daily tasks diminished over time. And I was told that I would need a double lung transplant. And on October 2nd, 2006, I received a double lung transplant from a beautiful 19-year-old female out of South Carolina.
The gift of life.
The gift of life. No greater gift.
How does it change your life?
Oh, amazing. Amazing.
How so? Break it down.
I'm able to do the things I've always wanted to do. One of my mottos is no regrets. Now I just do the things I want to do. My bucket list gets fuller and fuller, but I am able to do those things, see my family, and,
You're competing with Team Liberty. Tell everyone what Team Liberty is at the Transplant Games. What's Team Liberty?
It's an amazing group of recipients that are just so determined and so focused on just doing everything.
Hold on one second. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Is it not a fact, team in the control room, our great team, that we have video of these? You're a singer. You sing.
Yes.
Not just in church.
Yes, that's
But that's
true.
the most important place.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is you or Team Liberty singing, Georgette? It's Denise singing. What are you singing?
The National Anthem.
Well, let's just check that out.
For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
I'm sorry, a double lung transplant?
Yes.
What'd that feel like singing?
Amazing. Going from doing that from a little girl to not being able to do it, to not being able to laugh without coughing and just get up and move around without coughing. It all stopped because of this disease, but the gift of life gave me that back, so it's pretty special.
Will you be performing, finally, will you be performing, will you be singing in the transplant game?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, leave us in suspense. That's right.
Yes.
Okay, what should you be doing?
Yeah, well, I have to comment on what Denise just said about determination and hope, because when you asked me the first question about what we're going to see at the Transplant Games, I gave you like a logistical answer.
Yes.
And when Denise was talking, I thought, what you're really going to see is the determination of the transplant recipients. You're going to see hope that we hope to provide for patients currently waiting on the transplant list. You're going to see smiles and hugs and love and tears, and that's what I should have answered, because that's really what the games are about and what they represent for everybody waiting on the transplant waiting list.
It's incredibly powerful too.
Did you go? Sorry for interrupting. Before New Jersey was selected, did the two of you go out and see the games in somewhere else? What was that?
Salt Lake City.
Okay, in Utah.
So last year we were out in Salt Lake City, and I can tell you, I was incredibly moved. I'm moved just sitting next to this young lady and hearing her story. And the power of people that have the gift of life now competing in all types of athletic events and leading their life that they were never going to be able to lead is incredibly powerful. And that's why we're so anxious to participate and help advance these games.
As you listen to Jim, I want to remind folks that if you know our programming, we have a history of every year doing the sharing network, the 10K?
The 5K.
The 5K. That's because I haven't run in a long time. That's how you know. And the stories we hear, the people we meet, those who have given the gift of life, family members who are there of those who gave the gift of life no longer with us, and those who are recipients and their families. Talk about powerful, but I want to ask you this, Bill, from a national perspective, because Think Tank tries to look at things more globally. That's in New Jersey when we do that. New Providence, if I'm not mistaken. nationalize this conversation for us. Is it not a fact that well over 100,000 people are waiting as we speak right now for an organ?
Yeah, over 110,000 people are waiting for an organ, and roughly 20 people will die a day waiting because an organ was not available.
20 people die a day,
Yeah.
waiting.
Yep. So on a national level, we know that our job is not done. We know that there's a significant need for organs in this country and in the world, but in this country. And so one of our jobs is to try to, bring attention to the fact that there is this great need, and everybody needs to get involved. This is a miracle. The miracle of transplantation is something, we do over 35,000 transplants a year in this country, and it's been pretty static at that number for the last 10 years. That's a lot of lives saved.
So let's do this in the spirit of trying to make a difference. We'll put up the Sharing Network website as we speak. Go to the website. This series says, think for yourself. Think Tank says, think for yourself. This is more than think for yourself. Once you look at it, once you think for yourself, decide to act if you want to. Act to find out more information. I'm not going to turn this into a commercial or promotional effort. But the question is, with all those people waiting, you can change someone's life. You can give the gift of life to someone else. And you've seen it on a very, I know I've asked you this before, on a very personal level, you've seen this right in your own family, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Sure.
Yes, I have. About 2 years ago, my husband, who has been very moved by all of the stories, people like Denise and others, he was moved to donate his kidney as a living donor, and he kicked off a chain that is still going almost 2 years
Tell folks
later.
what the chain means. I saw that on the Today Show when he was there.
Yes.
That's not as big as it. It's a Today Show. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So Brian didn't know anybody personally who was waiting for kidney transplant, so he donated to the pool, so to speak, and he donated to a stranger named Haley, who he now knows. And Haley's daughter, in turn, then donated to another stranger, which kicks off the chain.
That's
because
the chain.
Haley and her daughter were not a match, but she did have a willing donor. So that's the chain. A chain starts with an altruistic donor who is just willing to give in general, and the transplant center
That's what your
finds the
husband
matches.
did.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people are afraid to give. We understand, we appreciate it. And my wife Jennifer doesn't like when I say this, but she donated her kidney to her brother. And so this impacted our family very directly, and we've learned very directly and personally about it. But as we go out to this break, talk to those who say right now, I'd like to. It's very powerful stuff, very inspirational. They're moved by your story, but I'm afraid. You say?
Don't be. Don't be afraid. Get the information. Get the education on what it is. A lot of people are afraid because they don't know.
Don't know what?
They don't know that there's certain things that have to be in place for you to be a donor. Every person that passes away not necessarily is going to be a donor. Less than 1/10 of 1% of all deaths, a person will end up being a donor. So it is not cut and dry. But the thought that if you are able to give and you make that choice, that's a donor in spirit, and that's just as great that you would even consider it. So get the information first. Understand what the myths and misconceptions are.
That's right.
And before you just say no.
In fact, we're going to be talking about the myths and misconceptions right when we come back from this break on Think Tank. Make sure we'll remind you again. July 17th to July 22nd, primarily at American Dream in the Meadowlands, Mr. Kirkos, but also opening ceremonies where?
At Prudential Center.
Prudential Center, right around the corner. We're here in Brick City, Newark, New Jersey, in the studios at NJ TV, right around the corner. And also NJ PAC is involved as well.
Yeah, we're going to host the donor tribute at NJ PAC. A big part of the games, obviously, and the big part of the work that we do is to honor the donors.
See, that's why you picked New Jersey, right? This is Think Tank. I'm Steve Adubato. More on the transplant games and organ and tissue donation right after this.
To watch more Think Tank with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
You cannot believe the conversation that goes on while that information is up there. Bring up the issue you just raised that you wanted us to talk about.
So, we talk about bringing the games here so that we could raise awareness about the success of transplant, and we could raise awareness about being a donor and getting people to sign up on the donor registry. But another thing that the Transplant Games brings is to show patients who are currently on dialysis who, believe it or not, are afraid to get a transplant. They'd rather stay on dialysis than undergo the operation. It shows them, too, that these things can be successful. And
Jump in on that, Bill.
No, it's true. I think we've not dealt with that community in the past because it's a kind of a one-off from the donation and transplantation world. But the reality is, people with kidney disease, there's over 500,000 in this country that are undergoing dialysis 2-3 times a week or more, that we think that we can serve by getting them educated on what donation and transplantation can mean to their lives.
People need to understand that in terms of dialysis, and again, we know this personally from our family, that the quality of life is seriously impacted. Let's just say
it's a
that.
roller coaster,
To say the least.
Right.
Okay, let's do this. I'm going to talk about myths and misconceptions in a second, but real quick, some of the folks who are making this possible from the corporate foundation community, real quick, some of them are?
Well, we have our lead partners, RWJ Barnabas Health and Hackensack Meridian Health, two major transplant centers.
And big supporters of what we do as well?
Yes, absolutely. Obviously,
But there are a lot of other folks. American Dream involved as well?
Yes, they are.
How so?
Well, American Dream stepped up right away to be host of many of the activities that will take place in the village, and in fact, we'll be touring the facility next week to take a look at the progress and further the plans.
And 1 second, before we go off of this topic, some of those go, hey, listen, is American Dream going to be open by then? Give us the guarantee.
Well, listen, the hard date right now is October 25th of this year for the first phase, and by the time the games come by, the entire facility will be open.
We will be ready.
We will be ready.
Okay. One of the things when we're getting ready for the show, I kept thinking, you know what? We've talked a bit about the myths and misconceptions, but it seems to me that we've talked a lot offline, Lisa, about this, and with Joe Roth, the CEO at the Sharing Network, that there are a significant number of African Americans, those in the Latino, Hispanic community, and other communities. But there are some real problems reaching those communities and making a difference, and also because of religious issues, race issues, cultural issues, whatever. Those barriers, how real are they?
Oh, they're very real.
Break it down.
They're very real. In those communities, African American, Latino, there's a mistrust for the medical community.
And you work with the hospital community directly.
I do.
With your work. I'm sorry
yes.
for interrupting.
No, I work with family services. So that means that I am with families at the worst times of their lives. Their loved one is, not going to recover. And we approach them about the possibility of their loved one being an organ donor. And we get all types of reactions. Some people feel like it's a great thing because their legacy will live on. And then we have those who don't trust it. We have those who say for religious reasons. There is no religion that is against giving the gift of life.
Formally or officially. But
Right.
people will say for religious reasons, that doesn't make sense.
They will say it, and they will hold on to it. We have, consulted with all types of religious leaders, and they have all said that, no, it's a great gift, and given us reasons why it's a great gift. And we're so happy that some of those leaders come to events that we have.
Right.
Some come to support, and some actually come to learn more so that they can be better informed in order to give, the information to
Jump
their
in.
And that's exactly, we take it back to what Bill said earlier about being here in a big media market. So the games, while it's the celebration of life.
And a very diverse community.
And a diverse community, yes. And an important one. So it really gives us a powerful platform to extend that message and awareness and education into all those communities that just are fearful of understanding. And so that's why the power of this particular marketplace will be so important to the transplant.
Jump in there, Bill.
I think the games bring an opportunity for people to come out and talk to both donor families and recipients about the process.
Define the process. I often say it's on my license. That's not the only way, or is that the way?
That is the primary way, but there's
Well, you
also...
said the process. Explain
The
it.
process is twofold. One, you're either on the list or you're not. And so if you're in danger of passing away, you're...
On the donor list.
On the donor list.
Okay.
And then there's also a tremendous effort made at the hospital with all people who can make that decision, whether you're on the list or not. So New Jersey Sharing Network, is one of the leaders in the country in terms of being able to communicate the right message to people to make that decision, even though they may not be on the list. So that's kind of a dual process. On the recipient side, obviously, at the games, they've gone through the process. They can tell people what it was like to get their organ, to get prepped for it, what you got to do to get on the list, to get an organ. So it's an opportunity to get questions answered by
at the transplant games.
At the games. Sure.
Yeah, let's stay on that. How much of, by the way, the information will go up again about the transplant games and go through the sharing network to find that. How much of what will go on July 17th to the 22nd, 2020, mostly an American Dream, but also in and around Newark at NJPAC and Prudential Center, how much of it is about education, just informing people?
Yeah, I'm going to quote one of Team Liberty members from last year.
What is Team Liberty?
So there are 44, am I getting that right? 44 teams from across the country that will come together to compete.
Right.
This is very competitive, Steve. So Team Liberty is made up of the recipients, donor families, and living donors from New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. They're the team to compete in the games
locally. That's the best
locally.
team. I just want to be clear.
It's
That is clearly the best
yes,
team.
Absolutely. Right.
Bill's not commenting. Go ahead, because he has a larger constituency around the nation. Go ahead, talk about education and information.
To quote one of the donor dads who was there last year, he said, "This is not just the games. This is not the transplant games. It's like a misnomer. It's a whole life event. And what you will see when you go there is there's a series of workshops and other special events and places to celebrate, places to learn. It really isn't just about basketball and volleyball. And those things are fun also, and obviously help spread the word that transplant works and it brings people together. But there is a host of other educational opportunities throughout the week that
all happen. By the way, for kids as well?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Just want to clarify that. Denise, let me come back to you on something. We can talk about education. We can talk about public awareness, which we're very much a part of. You see the PSA, the public service spots that we run. We run them for a reason, to drive people to the site to get more information. But beyond that, how much do you believe, from a very personal perspective, that moving people to act, first to find out more, which is acting, and then ultimately potentially deciding that they want to be a donor, how much of that do you think is driven by hearing other people's personal stories, like your own, who would not have the quality of life, and in some cases they wouldn't even be here if it were not for someone giving the gift of life? How much do you think that education, information, and public awareness is really about moving people emotionally?
It's a major part of it. When people see, I was with a family the other day, and the best friend of the mother of this child talked to her about her son becoming an organ donor. And the mother was relying very much on her friend. And I don't tell my story all the time when I'm with a family. If it's not needed, I don't. But this family and this mother was so moved by the fact that her son was going to touch someone else. I said, I thank you. And they kind of looked at me. I said, because it was a family just like you that probably sat in a room just like this and made a decision to give me a second chance at life. And the mother was floored. She got up, she touched me to say, oh my God. I said, yes, without my donor, a family like you, I would not be here. So your son is going to save lives. It's not all in vain. People are going to remember him. So seeing someone who has gone through it and see them on the other side of it and see that they're walking and talking and doing everything that they weren't able to do before, singing, and that they weren't able to do before, and you see this, it's proof positive.
Why are you so moved right now?
Because I just think about what I couldn't do. And now
right while you're talking to us?
Yes. Like this sentence would not be happening.
You being in the studio at NJTV, would you be here?
I might if you would have me, to come and sit and talk to you with oxygen on, but no.
You wouldn't be here in this form?
No.
This healthy?
Oh, no.
This vibrant?
No.
Final words?
I have to say her 5K team is called Breathin' Easy. So I love that. I have to mention that. But I would encourage everyone to go to our website, which I know you do all the time, but in addition to registering to be a donor on your driver's license, you can also do that right online on our registry.
How do they do that real quick? A few seconds left. How do they do that?
They go to our website at njsharingnetwork.org. Just click register now, and you can register to be a donor on the National Registry in less than a minute.
Before we get out of here, how happy are you that even before the games that you guys picked New Jersey?
I was thrilled then, and I'm even more thrilled now.
It's going to be a big event. Not just for the Meadowlands, not just for New Jersey, not just for the region, but for the nation. They are, in fact, the Transplant Games. I've said it many times, I'll say it again. It is, in fact, on the 17th to the 22nd, 2020 at American Dream, and also kicking off here at NJPAC and Prudential Center. I'm Steve Adubato. This has been Think Tank, and I cannot thank all of you enough, but no disrespect, especially you.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. Folks, let's continue the conversation. So let me know what you think about this topic and others. And so check me out on Twitter. You know it, you see it. More importantly, when it comes to Think Tank, we can talk all we want, but in the end, you have to think for yourself. See you next week.
Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 30 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Russell Berry Foundation, PSE&G, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, TD Bank, Community Food Bank of New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and by Johnson & Johnson. Promotional support provided by Tap Into TV and by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
Look around. 1 in 7 New Jersey children goes hungry every day. Hunger is everywhere right here where we live, and it doesn't look like you think. Help the Community Food Bank of New Jersey feed our hungry neighbors.
Do you make decisions? Do I eat or do I get my medicine? Do I eat or do I pay my rent? You got people making decisions like this each and every day, juggling their finances. How are they going to pay a bill here? Do I pay my car note or do I eat?